story. It is time to explain how this book came to be and the reason it exists, the mysterious secret, the reason you are here. Several years ago, I was on my way home after spending a long day in the library doing research. In the last few years, I'd become obsessed with making connections between various books and ideas, and began spending large amounts of time investigating all manner of things. I had started to see the world as an intensely fascinating and seemingly unlimited place, full of an almost infinite number of books, many with wonderfully enticing titles. On this day, I had spent a few hours reading The Library of Babel and covertly sipping green tea until the sun went down. Suddenly, I realised the time and that I was at risk of missing dinner entirely, so I packed up my things and ran out of the room, leaving the book I had been reading spinning wildly on the desk. You can recreate this effect using this book right now if you like. Close it up first. It's rather fun to try. Outside, the night was warm for the time of year, which was fall, and there were leaves blowing wildly around. It was threatening to rain, and little flashes of lightning were flickering in the distance. I would have to hurry so as not to get caught in the impending storm. To get to my house, I passed through a park, which had a long and windy path. Every 20 feet or so there was a park bench, of the standard wood and cast iron variety. Please draw one on the opposite page. Draw park bench here. The story, part 2. Though my head was filled with images from the book I'd been reading, I noticed that one of the benches had a bunch of papers scattered haphazardly around it. Not being the kind of person who can just walk by random papers I find on the street, I went over to the bench and began to read. First looking around to see if anyone was watching. I confirmed I was alone. The first page with text that I found looked like this. I thought maybe it was some kind of strange code. I began to gather up all of the other pages. Even though it was windy, there was a fence right behind the bench that, luckily, served to catch the scattered pages. So collecting them proved much easier than I'd expected. I grabbed what looked to be a worn black cardboard cover and quickly shoved the loose sheets into my book bag, right next to my dog-eared copy of Calvino's If on a Winter's Night a Traveller. I ran the rest of the way home. Just as I reached the front steps of my house, it started to rain. Once inside, I threw off my coat and pulled out the pages I'd found. There seemed to be no coherent order, or none that I could identify at first glance. The cover appeared to be blank, but on closer inspection, I realised there was a largish mud smear that had obscured the title. I rubbed it off with my finger, and one by one, the letters appeared. Instruction manual. So began the mystery. Who created the instruction manual, and what was its purpose? I quickly became determined to find out. However, for reasons I do not wish to get into at this time, I'm now passing the task on, which is why you are here, staring intently at these very pages. A facsimile of the manual has been recreated for you later in this book, but don't turn to it yet. There are still a few things we need to address. Becoming a sleuth. You may feel slightly overwhelmed by the fact that the outcome of this book depends on you. This is a much bigger job than you thought. Don't worry, we will begin slowly and get you started with some secret intelligence techniques, as well as documentation and observation methods commonly employed by sleuths. Sleuths are required to notice, observe, and make sense of the world around them. All traits that will help you solve the mystery of this book. Research, definition of sleuthing, research methods, dictionary, internet, library.